Hi, Lauren here. Very pregnant Lauren. Definitely feeling it these days, guys. It's a very rainy day. I'm very bummed about the rainy day, but hopefully watching us will brighten your evening. But anyway, so I'm just gonna kill some time while everyone gets on, because hopefully we have lots of people that want to learn about binding. But while people log on and do their thing, I was going to let you know about a class that I am doing on Facebook Live, which means it's free. We all like free. But I'm doing a class called Free Motion Concepts. Hey, Elizabeth. Thanks for tuning in. Hey, Luann. There's Jenna. Hi, Jenna.
Hi, Jenna.
Hey Donna. Okay, so the class that I'm doing, it is October 22nd. It's on Facebook Live, and it is called Free Motion Concepts. And so what I'm gonna do is, because a lot of people are scared of free motion and just being able to do free motion. Hey Donna. Hey Lisa. Hey Darlene. What we're going to do is I'm just going to have a piece of paper and a pen, and we are just going to draw, and we're going to get you comfortable. The two concepts I'm going to work on are stippling and feathers. And I know feathers are kind of hard for people, but we are going to learn just by drawing how to get all that under wraps under your belt so you're more comfortable with doing free motion, and then that will translate to actually doing it on the machine. So you can do it. It's free motion. Anyone can free motion. It all starts honestly with doodling, drawing, anything on paper. You never want to start and learn something on the machine when you don't even understand the concept, and I think that's why a lot of people hesitate starting free motion. Anyway, lots of people are tuning in now. So let's see, Donna says, is this the silhouette or destiny? I'm going to be doing that on the long arm, but it's the concept. So you can have it as a tabletop or any machine that you can free motion. For those wondering, the tabletop is more moving your paper rather than your pen. So you're going to be moving your fabric. A long arm like we have out on the floor, like the regalia, I'm moving my needle, so it's moving my pen and pencil versus my paper. I'm a little bit more comfortable with that, but either way, when you get to the machine, it's going to require some practice, just like with anything else. Anyway, now that I've rambled on long enough, I'm going to tune in to my mother. So give me just a second here. Alrighty. Oh wait, I gotta plug her in here. Yes, we have to tether. And hopefully you guys enjoyed last time and all of our antics, yeah, whatever you want to call them. Let me, oh, hang on. Having some technical difficulties. Audio, can everyone hear her?
So can everybody hear me? I want everybody to hear me. It's important information. Lauren hurt my feelings. She said she did not want to be tethered to me 5 minutes ago. So I want to tell you guys something. 'Twas the night before Facebook Live. No, it is the night of Facebook Live. Not a creature was stirring at Ready, Set, Sew except me and Lauren. So we have to do these after hours because the phones ring off the wall. And
oh no.
Oh no.
Hold on, we have some technical difficulties.
What happened?
We haven't even started.
Oh my gosh, it's going to be one of those nights.
Okay, if it happens again, I apologize.
What'd you do, drop me?
Okay.
Okay, we're tethered now, so I can't get too far away from her. And for those of you who tuned in last week, we measured so we knew how to put our borders on. And here we are. We've got our borders stitched on. And Lauren was so nice to me today. She quilted this. Lauren, if you want to zoom in.
Hold on, I'm still having technical difficulties.
Oh no.
Okay.
So I want you to zoom in on this, and I want you all to look at the beautiful pine trees that she quilted my quilt in.
Yay!
And look, cookies and milk. And Santa is just so awesome. So, Lauren, what happened?
I'm going to have to go handheld, guys.
What happened?
All right, we're good.
Okay, sorry. We just wanted to turn your world upside down tonight. Okay, so this is such a pretty quilt now that I have envisioned mine going across this beautiful little table that I have, and I'm going to put Emmett's, my grandson's, tray of cookies and milk out with this as the table topper. So you can use yours however you want to, but we have to get it finished before we can do all that. So let's get busy with binding. So the first thing you're going to need to know is, how much binding do you cut? That's a simple enough question. So in order to know how much binding, now I use a 2.5 inch strip of binding, but what I have to do is I have to measure my quilt. Now I've already squared this one up. I feel like Julia Childs right now. You know how she always prepared one and then she reached over and took the one out of the oven. So I have done a little bit more prep work because Lauren is pregnant, and I kept her an hour and 20 minutes for the last Facebook Live. So tonight I thought I would do a little bit of prep ahead of time. So I have already squared the quilt, and it's already been quilted, which in order for you to put binding on, you need to already have it quilted. And I want to make sure that all of you stay until the very last minute, because we have something special for you. Very special. But I'm going to measure my quilt, and right now you can kind of sort of see, if she comes over here, the measurement of my quilt. Now this is not as exact of a measurement. I just need to know how many strips to cut. So this is almost 43 going across, and then I'm going to turn this and I'm going to measure. So 43 and roughly 49. I don't have my cell phone. 43 and 49. And I need my cell phone because it's got my calculator in it, and I don't like to do math in my head. So 43 plus 49 equals 92. I still have another, I have to double that to get the whole quilt. So times 2 equals, Lauren, can you see that? That's 184 inches. Now, depending on how big you did your border, you still need to measure. You can't go by my measurements, even though you're doing the same quilt. So it's 184 inches. Now that needs to be divided, and I cut an extra strip here so you would see. And the jury's still out as to whether you want to cut your binding going across or lengthwise. My pieces, this is going to be a little thing for Christmas. It's not going into a quilt show, so I'm cutting my pieces going across the fabric. So if Lauren will zoom in, I need to know how much actual working fabric that I have, because I've got to cut off my selvage. Don't step on my tether. So you can see I'm going to cut, I need to cut off the selvage. And you see here that I have roughly 21. We're going to round that to 21. So 21 and 21 is 42. I can do that math in my head. Is 42. So I roughly have 42 actual inches of fabric to use. So I'm going to take this 184 and I'm going to divide by 42 equals. Can you see that? So I need 4.38 strips, which means I need to cut 5 2.5 inch strips. Did everybody get the math on that? Give me a thumbs up if you did.
Yay!
That's how easy it is to figure out how many strips you're going to need. Okay, so if you have a go cutter, then you can, which I did, I took it out there to the go cutter and I cut me 5, actually 6, because I needed this one to show you with. But I cut 5 strips, and Now I'm ready to show you how to put them together.
Jenna
Now,
wants to know if this is a present for anyone.
is it Jenna, are you hinting? Okay, so actually, no, I'm going to put it on the table and put cookies and milk on it and say that it's from Emmett. He will have his own little Christmas table. He's not quite 2, but he'll be 2 in February. So
Steve wants to let you know happy anniversary.
oh, today is my 37th anniversary. We thought it was 32, and my mom reminded me it's 37. So I don't know where those extra 5 years came from. You could probably see it in my gray hair. Okay, so the reason I want to show you guys how to do the binding is because this is just an example of something that I put together, and I want to show this to you guys. This is a simple little door hanging, wall hanging, table runner. And we've put this together. It's a kit, and we're going to actually do a class on it. You get to come into Ready, Set, Sew. I know, don't faint. You have to wear your mask. But we're actually going to do this class, and you're going to learn sashing. You're going to learn hands-on binding, and you're going to learn and do stippling to quilt it. In addition to that, you're going to learn how to do a rod pocket. So you can run a dowel through the rod pocket and hang this up if you want to use it as a wall hanging. So this is a class that I'm going to be teaching. It's called Quilting Basics. I've got my note here, Quilting Basics. Mark your calendars, November 12th. The fee for everything you see here and the class is $39.99. Where could you learn all that's in this little table runner / wall hanging for $39.99? We have the kits cut, so if you want to join me, then make sure that you let us know pretty quick because our kits go really fast. So I've done that this week. I've also done this because I want my bindings. I guess what I want to say is if you're going to do something, then it doesn't take any longer to do it right. So I want you to learn how to do this stuff the correct way. Look at this. Do you all see this? And I am never, ever ashamed to show the backside of my work. I watched some videos on YouTube one time and they just kind of take them and throw them over their shoulder, or they take them and kind of hide them under the table. And I don't want you to feel that way about your work. I want you to be able to display something really nice.
When is the class again?
Oh, it's on November 12th.
At what time?
1 to 4. Okay, so this table runner that I made also had placemats that went with it. Now I want you to look. Do you see this?
It's beautiful.
It's beautiful. Look at that perfect
Now
miter.
let's learn.
So now I want you to understand why you're learning this is because when you do, then you can show off your beautiful items that you do. Okay, so we have established that we are making...
One last time, repeat the date.
Oh, the date of the class?
Yes.
Because it will fill up fast because I have to have limited seating because of COVID. It is November 12th, 1 to 4, and it's $39.99.
Awesome.
So please come join me. It will be hands-on, and you'll need to bring your machine so you can sew. Okay, so I have my strips cut, and the very next thing that I do is I have to cut at a 45-degree angle. So you can see here on my mat that I have 45-degree lines. I don't want the selvage edge in my seam, so I have placed the selvage edge on that side of the line because I'm going to cut on that line, and then I put this one over it, and I had to clear the selvage here, and I'm lining it up straight, and now I'm going to cut on the 45, And if you don't have a standard 6-inch, I need my rotary cutter, I don't want to block the view there. If you don't have a standard 6 by 24 quilter's ruler, you need to come in and see me. I use this thing almost every day. Okay, so I'm going to cut on the 45. I'm going to have this waist, and I'm going to have that waist. And you can see now that those are going to go together perfectly.
So it needs to be upside down?
I like to do them upside down because now I can take and grab a straight pin, which I'm going to scoot you down here just a little bit. You can use clips, or you can use a straight pin. And if you haven't invested in clips, then you need to do that, because there's something wonderfully magic about these that I'm going to tell you about. And nobody ever told me about them, and I discovered it on my own, and I'm going to share it with you guys. Okay, because the reason I did it upside down is now all I have to do is grab them, because you're going to have to do 5 of these together. So as I'm cutting them, I go ahead and pin them together. Oh. So I can take it directly to the machine and stitch them. Okay, so everybody's with me. Jenna, I know you're hanging in there with me. Okay, so that's how I put them together. So I would take and cut each one of my 5 strips at this angle line. Now I've already prepped and put some together so that you can see that I put my seam in at 1/4 of an inch. Now, when you use a 1/4 of an inch seam, it's really crucial that you start stitching in that V. That's your 1/4 of an inch. If you don't, it's not going to line up straight. Do you see how straight my edge is? When you look at this, when you pull on it, do you see how nice and flush those edges are?
Very nice.
Very nice. That's the way it's supposed to be. Okay, so we're going to move over to here. And you all listened to me last week. I cannot overemphasize these wonderful 3/4 inch wool mats. I love them. You know that I like to keep my machine sitting on them. But for this, I'm going to move my machine back a little bit, because I want you to see how I stood here and I pressed. Look how long I can press my binding on. So I pressed it, and then I pressed it, and then I pressed it. And so now I'm to here, so that you see how I did all those strips. You want to press your 1/4 inch seam open. So we're going to press this open because you want to eliminate bulk. Do you see how my wool mat works for my machine? It works for pressing. It works for doing my binding.
For those interested in the class, definitely give me a call at the store tomorrow so I can officially sign you up. If you tell me on here, I'll think about it for like an hour and then I'll forget.
She has pregnancy brain.
It's true.
Okay, so after you have stitched your 45-degree angled seam, you're going to fold this in half. Can you see this? Now, a lot of you get in a hurry, and so you may press like this, and then you press like this. No, I want you to keep all the edges even. And you're just going to press this in half. Now, I think we're giving them a facial because of all the steam that comes from this iron. Now, I love this iron, and I love the Aliso iron. This one is a reliable iron. You guys asked about it last week. We can order these for you. We need to find out what the wait time is, because it's hard getting things delivered these days because everybody's running out of raw materials. Okay, so I have this pressed in half, and I'm good to go. Okay, did everybody see that?
Do you want to leave the little...
When you're finished, those little what?
I was going to call them little ears.
Little dog, they call them little dog ears. Could be cat ears, could be just little points. So I'm going to take my rotary cutter and I'm going to cut those little ears off, especially if you're using a 1/4 of an inch seam. And now I am ready to attach my binding, but it takes a little bit of planning, so I want to show you that.
What is the iron called? Someone asked.
Oh, this is called Reliable iron, and it has the most steam of any iron I've ever used. And for those of you who know me, I believe in investing in good equipment so that I don't have to keep buying things over and over and over. So it's now time to put our binding on our quilt. Now we know that we're going to go around this and then we're going to have to put it together, the two ends of the binding. I don't want you to ever end your binding at the halfway point of a quilt or on the corner of a quilt. So I always try to aim for somewhere at a third. That's where your eye is least likely to notice where your binding has been sewn together. So I'm going to place my binding knowing that my final seam is going to end up right about here. And I'm going to leave myself about 10 to 12 inches before I start sewing. Now you can either pin just to get your start point. And as I come around here, and I'm just loosely laying this because you don't want to have your seam, your 45-degree angle seam, to show up down here on the corner. So do you see why I started where I did, so that I don't wind up with this down here? And if you do, we'll talk about that as we're stitching. So I've got my binding pressed in half. Let's go down to the sewing machine.
Where's the best place to...
You're going to have to look over my shoulder. And everybody give Lauren a thumbs up for being such an awesome, patient photographer / videographer / Facebook Live camera lady.
Who's currently 6 months pregnant.
Who's 6 months pregnant with my little granddaughter. I'm so excited. Okay, so I'm going to leave about 12 inches because I'm going to need to be able to work with that in just a little while. And I'm going to start sewing. If you want to use a 1/4 inch foot, you can. I like to come over just about, it's kind of like the difference between an 1/8 inch and, what do they call that? It's not quite an 1/8. Why is that leaving my memory right now? Somebody tell me what that's called. Scant.
I was about to tell you.
Not
Dang.
eighth, not eighth. It's a scant quarter.
I should have said
It's
something.
like so I'm not doing a scant quarter. I'm doing it a little more than a quarter, and that's why I'm using this foot instead of my 1/4 inch foot. You could use your 1/4 inch foot. If you're doing that, then that bar that rides along the edge is going to be 1/4 inch from where your needle goes in to the edge here. I like to use a little bit more because I like my binding to be what's called a full binding. So I'm going to sew. And you can see my 1/4 inch line here. I'm actually using the point of the 4. It's like somebody asked last week, do I cut on the line of the ruler, inside the line of the ruler, or the outside line of the ruler? Because the line has some width to it. So it's the same here. I like to have a fuller binding. So I'm going to get started. Take my pin out. I don't like to sew over pins. Now this is crucial. And you all need to know, it took me a long time to figure this out. And I've never seen anyone teach binding this way. So enjoy this class.
Jenna, I'm going to assume that you meant to say Lauren.
What did she say? Jenna, you're so sweet. All right, I'm going to put a pin because I need to stop 1/4 inch back from the cut edge. And the only way I know to do that is to put myself a pin. So I'm going to sew. Now for my binding, I like to use a stitch length of 2.5.
Not 1.8?
No, not 1.8, because 1.8 stretches and pushes the fabric when it has batting in it.
Oh.
Okay, so I'm going to sew until I get to where my, and I'll slow down, where my pin is straight with my needle. And now I'm going to rotate 45 degrees and I'm going to sew to the corner of the quilt. Trim. And now I'm ready to come down the other side.
Joy asked what's your stitch length again?
2.5. Do you see how perfectly lined up this is?
Now hold on. What did you just do? That's some sort of witchcraft.
I sewed. I'm not a witch. Oh my goodness. I sewed 1/4 inch to where my pin was. Remember I put my pin
Right.
at the 1/4 inch line. I sewed to that 1/4 inch and then I sewed to the corner.
At an angle.
At an angle. See that? Can you see that better? I'm using gold thread on gold fabric. So I stitched and then I stitched to the corner.
Let me see the back side.
I stitched to the corner.
Gotcha.
Okay, now I know I'm in the right place because when I open this out, do you see how this is nice and straight? This is one straight line. It's not like that, and it's not like that. It is in a straight line. That's what you want to aim for. So now I'm going to finger press this because I have a straight edge. I'm going to finger press this and I'm going to flip this back because I have to sew it on.
This is crucial, people.
This is crucial. This is so crucial. Okay, what most instructors tell you to do is line that up straight with your seam. And then when you go to turn it, and I don't care how many quilts I tried, my binding was never, my corners, my 45-degree corners never looked like I wanted them to. They look stressed. And we don't want your fabric to be stressed. Not like Lauren is right now.
I'm not that stressed.
Okay, so what I like to do is when I fold this back, I'm going to leave, and this is a Melanie method. Okay, this is nowhere else I've ever seen. This is Melanie method. I'm going to, because nobody ever tells you about the height of the loft of your batting here. And that's where my bindings always looked bad. They looked stressed because they had to stretch over the depth of this. So when I fold this back, I'm going to leave the height of my depth. So it's not flush with the edge. It is the height of the batting over the edge. Does everybody see that? It is not flush with the edge of this. Now we have 3 more. Once we get past this one, we have 3 more to do.
Trish says the Melanie method applies to all things.
Is Trish on here?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Hey Trish. We're having fun.
So for those curious, the reason why we mention Jenna so much is because she is our youngest. She is 10 and she sews and quilts and she's amazing and she's watching tonight.
That's right. She is my social media what do we call you?
Guru.
Yeah, she's my guru. Okay, so I'm going to sew down. Now I normally wouldn't do this, but I want you to see it.
Let me get on the other side of it.
Yeah,
here.
you may have to get on the other side because I got to see to sew my 1/4 inch thing. Oh, you're going to strangle me now. My daughter's strangling me. Is my insurance paid up?
Oh, goodness.
If y'all don't see me tomorrow, you'll know I've got a microphone cord around my neck. Okay, so I'm going to trim this because I want you guys, now that's not what you would normally do, but I want you to watch something here. When I turn this, do you see how beautifully That just gives me chills. I'm not fighting with that 45 degree. I'm not doing, look at that. It doesn't get better than this. And why did it fold over and go to the edge so beautifully? Because I left the height of my batting from here to here.
Amazing.
So all of my corners, in fact, if I just grab what I showed you earlier, the reason they all turn so beautifully, do you see this? Look at this. And look at the back. Look at the back. Now, I know all of you guys, when you go in the store, you don't look at what's on front of the garment, you look at the back. So this is what the back looks like. Look at that. I don't have to hand stitch all that or go back and make adjustments. It does this way when you use the Melanie method. Okay, so I took that out of the machine. Normally I wouldn't have, but I took that out of the machine so that you could see. And now, Lauren, you can entertain them because all I'm going to be doing is sewing around the edge of this. You want to make sure that you keep your edges even. And you'll notice I'm not even pinning because after you do a few of these, you're just going to go, Now, I'm not pulling or stretching. You can. If every now and then you might get a little bit of a ripple here. So if you want to put a pin every now and then, if that helps you, or use your even feed foot.
What's an even feed foot?
It feeds it from the top as much as it feeds it from the bottom.
Is that the same thing as a walking foot?
Could be. Would you like for it to be? So I am sewing my 1/4 inch. It's a little bit more than a 1/4 inch because I like a full binding. All right, so guess what we're getting ready to come upon?
A corner.
A corner.
And tell everyone not to forget to stay tuned for our...
Oh yes, we have a surprise. So stay tuned. We don't want to leave anybody out.
Here, should I move this?
And I want to thank everybody. Last week was our first Facebook Live. And I can't tell you how honored Lauren and I were that people actually came by the store to tell us how much they enjoyed our first Facebook Live. So we loved the compliments, and I guess that's why we're doing another one, is because we must have enjoyed it too, or we would have canceled this. We would have said, sorry.
Hang on, I'm getting tangled here.
We're done. Okay, now I'm also using my foot that comes with the baby lock. That's it's like a sled. It's curved on the front so it doesn't get caught on anything, and I love that about this foot. The other thing I want to tell you about, because I've been in classes with some of you, and especially my younger students, they love this button right here. It's called Start Stop button.
I love it.
And here's why I don't use it. It's because when you're using this is a start stop button, which means if I have this on high speed, that when I start it, it's going to go high speed. It is a toggle switch. It's like a light switch. It's either on or off. When I have my foot control plugged in, then I can't use this on-off button, and it's going to tell me error on my screen. So I'm going to sew. Here we go again. If you didn't get it the first time, we're going to get it the second time. I'm going to sew to my 1/4 inch where my pin was. I'm going to rotate that to 45. Lauren, can you get under there and see that point? Can everybody see that little point right there? That's the corner of my quilt. It should be lined up right here, because that's where we're going to sew to the corner and then trim. Now, I was telling y'all something and I got to that point and I forgot what I was going to tell you. Oh, we get to do this 3 more times. Okay, I sewed down and off.
Well, 2 more times.
2 more times after this one. I pull this back. Do you see how nice and straight this is? Can you see from over there? See how nice and lined up and straight this is?
Yes.
Once I'm to there, I'm going to finger press this, and I'm going to fold this back. Now, that's too much. That's too much.
That's the Lauren method.
That's the Lauren method. Oh, we were talking about the toggle switch. So, with my foot control, I can have this set on high speed, but I'm controlling it by how hard I push on my foot pedal. Okay, so there's my little overhang that I leave on my bonding, and I'm feeling, and I kind of mark it with my fingernail, where that folded back area is, because I don't like to sew over those, but I like to start there. So I'm going to find my 1/4 inch. You can backstitch a little bit. I'm keeping my edges even. I always like to stop with my needle down.
I'm just going to show people the full setup here, how you're working.
I'm just sewing away. This is what I love to do.
Joy says she's having trouble starting fabric on her Janome without it getting stuck in the feed. What is she doing?
Oh, how old is your Janome? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm waiting for her to answer me. Sorry, Joy. I'm used to you being here with me.
Oh, this is a different Joy.
Oh, is this? Oh, this isn't the Joy that I know and love.
I mean,
It's
I'm
a new
sure
Joy.
You'll love her.
This is a new Joy. One that I get to spend time with later on.
And Darlene would like to know, Darlene Gregory would like to know the answer to her Janome question too. So
Okay.
people are getting it caught in their feed when they're starting.
Okay, if you mean when you're sewing no fabric and you're starting initially?
Are you, yeah, are
Okay,
you
so if
starting
you're
off?
just starting fresh, and if you'll remind me, I'll do that at the end. I'll just take
You
two
know we
pieces of
forget.
fabric. I'll just take 2 pieces of fabric and sew them together. Okay, guess what we're coming upon? We're coming upon another corner. This is number 3. If you don't have it by now, we only got one more shot at it. Okay, so I'm lined up.
Trish recommended a new needle.
What, she doesn't like my dull needle I have in here?
No. No, for Joy, who's having trouble.
Oh, a new needle. And also, depending on the age of your machine, you may have to hold your needles to the side, hold your threads, your bobbin and your top thread to the side to get started, depending on the age of your machine.
She says it's a new needle, new machine, and starting fresh.
Ooh, shouldn't be doing that.
What?
Bogging her machine down.
What do you mean?
Well, she said that when she started that her thread and all got bogged down. If she wasn't sewing on the edge of the fabric, if she's just sewing in the air. So let's see if I have a piece of fabric. Oh, look, I have 2 pieces of fabric.
She's sewing 2 pieces. Oh, Darlene Gregory sewing 2 pieces of fabric for a quilt block.
Okay, so here's my 2 pieces of fabric. I just happen to have some out of the garbage here. And you see I'm starting off the edge, but I didn't have any issue.
So what do you do if you do have the issue?
Well, if you do have the issue, then you need to, sorry folks, we're a little sidetracked here, but that's okay. That's what we're here for, is I hold my threads to the side. So if you're having that issue, hold your threads to the side when you start. But you may need to take it into your Janome dealer and have them make an adjustment to how it's beginning its first stitches, because it should not do that.
And do note, I don't know if they can hear me, there are some default machine settings on your straight stitch that include a lock stitch. So if you're set to a default with a lock stitch starting, that could be sort of jamming all those stitches down before you even get on the fabric.
So pay attention to what your machine is doing, and when you start, if it's sitting in one place going 1, 2, 3 stitches before it ever goes forward, then that is in that lock stitch position, and yes, that could jam up your machine.
Jessica asked, can you use a leader too?
Yes, you could. You could. I don't like to because that means I have to go get rid of them. I'm not about making more work for myself.
What's a leader?
Like we added to your quilts out here so that you have something to hold on to. Okay, so you see I'm going to leave that edge. And I don't have to check all of them. Once you know how much to leave, then you're good to go. It's really hard for me to see how to sew with a camera in front of my machine, but I'm getting better at it. I should be able to go on America's Got Talent and be the only person who can sew and not see. That could be a talent. Who knows? Jenna, should I be on AGT? Okay, so here we go. I'm going to sew. Now we're coming upon here. I'm sewing my 1/4 of an inch, 1/4 of an inch, 1/4 of an inch. And you want to keep the bulk of what you're sewing in front of you, not over here.
Why is that?
Because now the presser feet are having to pull on my quilt instead of it just being in front to sew.
Gotcha.
So we don't want to have anything putting my quilt in a bind.
Donna's using the same backing on her pants.
Donna, are you using the same backing? Don't you love those little holly leaves? I just think this is going to be so awesome when it's finished. And this will be one less unfinished project that Lauren has to deal with if I'm ever not around. We're going to finish it. Okay, so we're sewing. Okay, for those of you that haven't gotten it, with 3 tries, we're coming up on our last corner.
And if you don't, you're not alone. It took me like 2 quilts.
Lauren. We're sewing. I probably should have just done a table runner. We'd be finished, a placemat. We'd be finished with the 4 corners by now. Okay, now see how I got off just a hair, so I'm going to pick my presser foot up because I don't want it to keep pushing my fabric. Keep your raw edges even.
Joy, and it might, if it's your machine, it's not a setting necessarily. Some people do use the leaders just to lead into what you're sewing, and then just trim that off later.
Yeah, they just keep a big piece of fabric like this up against the edge. And it could be that your trimmer is set to trim too short. That's why, it's best to have a certified service person to look at it. But it shouldn't be doing that.
Let me get on the other side.
On these machines, I'm all tangled in the cord again. Oh no. Okay, so here we go. So this is your last opportunity for tonight.
Don't get your hand in the way.
You mean like that?
Yeah.
Okay. I know. Don't you hate it when you're watching something and you can't see because they don't know their hands are in the way? Okay, so here's my pin. It's at the 1/4 inch mark, and I'm going to sew until my needle is even with that pin. I'm going to raise my presser foot up. Now, if I had my knee lift in here, then I could have just moved my knee over and raised my presser foot, but somebody has not brought me the knee lift for their machine.
Sorry.
Lauren. And it's so off the edge. Trim. And do wait until the trim finishes before you pull all that out.
Diane would like to know, how often should I change my needle?
Well, they tell you to change it every 8 hours of sewing time. On the quilting machine out there, they say to put a fresh needle in with every new quilt. So what I know is I change my needle more frequently depending on what it is I'm sewing on. Now, do you see how I missed my corner with this because I started where I started.
Oh.
See? So now I don't have to deal with that. But let's suppose that seam was over here. Then what I would have had to have done is open this up and cut this off on both sides to make it shorter so that it would have come up here.
So when would you have cut that off then?
If when I turned this corner, this was down here. If you're sewing along and your 45-degree angle seam is going to wind up in this square area here,
okay.
then you need to make this shorter. So you could have taken this apart and then cut this back to where it's not going to fall in this area, and then sewn this back to it before you turned your corner.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Joanne said that her daughter-in-law uses a piece of tearaway instead of a piece of material for her leader.
Anything. Yeah. You know, I just grabbed this out of the trash. I don't do miniature work, and I know I've seen people that do that kind of work, but if it's this small, it's going in the trash with me. Okay, but yeah, you can use these, any pieces of fabric that you have, use them to sew between pieces. And sometimes I do that because I've noticed on the cutters, sometimes when they start sewing, it's not clean. And of course this one was. Of course, it sews perfectly when I'm on video. But if you've ever noticed that when you started that you had some loops right here, that's where the machine is tying its knot. And sometimes I don't like those on the edge, on my cut edges, and so I'll use a piece of fabric as a leader so that I can cut this instead of having that wad of thread show up where it's been tied.
Trish wanted to remind everyone of a Melanie Coakley quote, which is,
"Oh no,
needles are inexpensive, machines are not."
That's right. Always keep a fresh needle in your machine. Now back to the answer on that one, because we got sidetracked a little bit talking about the leaders. If I'm sewing polyester, then I'm going to change my needle much more frequently because polyester is a more harsh fabric and it's going to dull your needle faster than cotton. So if you're sewing wool, cotton, linen, natural fibers, then you don't have to change your needle as often. I can tell you a dead giveaway of having to change a needle is when you hear it popping when it goes in the fabric. If you hear that little click, 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 then that means you need a new needle. If you're sewing and you see it where it grabs a cross-grain thread and now you have a white streak across your fabric, that means you need a new needle because it's not going through the fabric, it's actually pushing the fibers through.
And this is just your friendly reminder from me to service your machines, just like you would the oil in your car. You want to keep the maintenance up on it.
Yes, definitely. Okay, so we're getting ready, and I want to leave myself plenty of room here, but I want to show you this because I absolutely love doing bonding.
Why did you stop?
Well, I stopped because, has anybody, give me a thumbs up, if you have ever had trouble knowing where to cut your bonding to get it the right length to fit this space, to fit your quilt. If you've had trouble, give me a thumbs up because I'm going to take all your worries away right here. And I love
You got a lot of thumbs up.
I absolutely love this technique. What I'm going to do is cut off. Now you see I have a lot of extra fabric here. Okay, a lot.
What did you just cut?
I just cut the end, that
okay.
mitered end off. Don't panic, don't panic. Okay, I know that my bonding has to be flat, correct?
Correct.
Okay, So I've laid both of my pieces of binding on top of each other. The best way that I have ever known, because I do have extra, I'm going to cut a piece off. Now, it doesn't matter. Don't get too big and don't get too little. This is too little. But I cut a piece off from the extra binding that I have to deal with here. Now I want everybody to get this, because if you get this, you've got 90% of binding accomplished. Now, the other thing is on this end, I have that selvage edge, so I'm going to cut that off too, because I don't want to turn that and have the selvage in my way. All right, is everybody with me? Drum roll, please.
I could, but I
you can't do a drum roll. All right, so I have that perfectly flat, just like I want to sew it. I'm going to take this piece that I cut off, and I'm going to lay it on top of. Now, my pressed area, do you see my crease here?
Yes.
Is going horizontally
right
to this, to my
perpendicular.
Sorry. It is a horizontal crease, and it is now perpendicular. Okay, do you see that from there to there is how long? It's 2.5 inches, because I used a 2.5 inch binding folded in half.
Right.
Okay, so now I want that measurement. I'm going to put it.
So that's the measurement of the width?
It's 2.5 inches. I take a piece, because what if you use 2 3/4?
Oh, okay.
Okay, so I took the measure. I'm taking just a piece of binding. I don't have to get anything out to measure with other than this piece of cut off fabric. I'm going to lay the long end on top of this, because I have this edge. See that? This edge is up against my raw edge that I cut the selvage off of. I'm going to lay this on top. And guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to cut.
Oh no.
Oh no. Oh, what if we mess up? I'm going to cut, because that's how long my binding has to be. And because I moved it, I'm going to double check my work. I lay the edge here. I hope y'all are enjoying this.
I'm nervous right now for some reason.
Why are you nervous? Okay, does everybody see this? Because I'm on the edge here. I'm going to fold this back, and this is where I cut. Is everybody with me?
Yes.
Okay. That's exactly how long you need to cut your binding. Done with that, in the trash it goes. Now, this is the magic part. I'm going to take the piece that was underneath, and I'm going to fold it back on the 45, because I am a visual person, and that's why I left all this not attached yet, is I need room to work. So I have taken that piece that was just a straight piece, and I'm going to fold this back and do a 45 degree, and I'm going to finger press that. Just going to finger press it. Just a finger press, nothing more than a finger press. Okay? Because this, do you see that? Look at that. Do you see? That's what I'm trying to wind up with right there. Okay? I'm trying to wind up with my 45 like I had everywhere else. Trying to wind up with my 45. Okay? Now this is crucial. I know that I have folded that to there, and I have now laid this to here. So I'm going to open this up. Now this is the tricky part. I want to sew at that finger pressed angle. Now did you see that? This is the magic. Pay close attention. Everybody put your eyeballs right here. Okay, this is what it's supposed to look like. I'm going to leave that with the finger pressed 45 in it, and I'm going to open this up. Does everybody see that?
Yes.
I haven't moved anything. I'm going to lift this up, and I'm going to put a pin in it so you understand what I've done. See, I haven't done anything except pick that up and put a pin in it. Do you see my finger pressed crease right here?
Yes.
Okay. You're going to sew on that crease line. Remember how we sewed off the corner?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You're going to sew from upper left to lower right. Now, if you feel better, let me grab a couple of pins. If you feel better putting a pin or two in here, then by all means, put a pin and put a pin. Is everybody with me?
Yes.
Okay. And that's why you need to leave this not stitched, is because I'm going to sew. Oh, if I get my chair to roll over here. Wouldn't it be funny if I rolled all the way underneath? See you, Lord. Oh, we're getting punchy now. Okay, so I'm going to sew from this corner. See my finger press? You getting it, Lauren?
I think so. I'm gonna have to refer back to this video a few times.
Yeah, this is crucial. If you want to watch this video over and over.
Which you can, by the way, just go back to our video section on our Facebook and you'll see my beautiful face.
It's a good thing neither one of us had onions for dinner.
Yeah, I know.
We're like so close to each other right now. You're going to sew to the other corner. Now, if you want to go to 1.8 to do that, that's fine with me. So you see, I have sewn from the upper left to the lower right. Is everybody with me?
I think so.
I'm going to take my pins out. I'm going to grab my scissors. And I know y'all are freaking out. Had you rather me not cut yet? Just
Don't cut it
don't
yet.
cut. Y'all get nervous.
I want to see if it's right.
Okay, now that's going to be in the way. But I want you to look at this.
Ooh!
Look at this. There's no puckers. There's no nothing.
Oh, that's nice.
How nice is that technique? So now that I know it's correct, I'm going to cut this away. I'm going to finger press this seam open. Jenna, are you clapping your hands? I can just see you clapping your hands. Your grams tells me you clap your hands when you see something really exciting. So I'm going to finger press that open. I'm going to fold it over. Do you see why I said use 1.8 instead of 2.5? Because I'm getting a little separation there, but not on the other side. So now I'm ready to take this up to the machine. I'm going to stitch over a little bit where I've already been. Do you see how nice and perfect that is?
That is really nice.
It's really nice. And I'm sewing from an angle over here, Lauren. So
oh, sorry.
It's okay. Don't let me roll over your toe. In your dreams, most of you have wished that your binding would go on and lay. Look at this. Look how beautifully flat that is.
I'm definitely one of those people.
You're like, why? How did she get that so perfect? That is the most awesome way I have ever seen to look at that. Voila! Perfection. I love it.
So
I love it.
Halfway done.
No, I'm just going to sew one corner for the finale. Okay, so does everybody see that? Look at that.
Ooh.
Look at that. It's beautiful. Okay, so now I'm not going to sew around the whole quilt because my little pregnant videographer doesn't want me to keep her here for another hour tonight. So here's how you put your binding on. We already talked about this, about how we left that so that when you turn that, it's not fighting you. Look at that. It rolled over, and there it is. It's perfect. I love perfection. Okay, so this is where binder clips come in. Can you get a close-up of binder clips? I love these binder clips. They're awesome. So what you want to do, and I always start a little bit at the top here.
Donna said that's why I pay you to do my binding.
Donna, I know you can do this, Donna. I have faith in you. I have all the faith in the world. Okay, I want to cover over my seam a little bit.
So we're on the back.
So we're on the back, yes. And so I want see my folded edge, I want it to be over that seam just a little bit. And I do this from the back before I really go and put my binder clips on. Do you see how when I fold that over, do you see how it's at a perfect 45 right there?
Yes.
So what I want to do is get a pin I don't want to block the camera, but I'm going to get a pin, and I am going to pin that in place. Is everybody there?
Yes.
Is that pretty or what?
Yay!
That's so pretty. And look how pretty it is from the front.
Ooh.
Okay, so now I'm just going to put 1 or 2 in here. And now I'm working from the front side. Now I'm telling you guys, y'all better stay till the end because we concocted something. And I'm going to let Lauren tell y'all about it. Now, everybody thinks these are just clips. They're not just clips. They have been designed with a specific purpose. Whether the designer knows this or not, it's what I discovered. Do you see those little dots? Those little dots on the edge here?
Yes.
And they're also on the red side or the colored side. When you put, and I always work where I can see the colored side on the front. Oh, sorry, I said that wrong. I work from the back. And I use the colored side on the front because see it's curved, and I like the flat side to be against the front side because I sew my binding onto the front. I've seen people sew their binding onto the back and then flip it over and sew on the front and then sew next to the edge, and then they have to use invisible thread because now you're seeing your stitching from the top side, and I don't like that. So here we go. This clip, I'm not like holding it wide open, but I'm holding it open enough that I can still feel it. And if you watch real closely, if Lauren can oh, that feels like a massage. Oh, rub my
I'm
neck.
using her neck as a tripod.
Okay, watch my clip. Did you see it kind of, it's like a speed bump. Those little dots go over the edge of the front of my binding. Did you see that?
Yeah.
And when the back is perfectly even with that edge, then I know that I'm going to wind up with perfect binding.
Oh.
Now, I don't like to spend time cutting and clipping and getting rid of all those, so I just kind of smooth them into my binding.
Your little stray threads.
My little stray threads. I don't want them not to have a home in there. All right, so I'm going to clip this, and when it goes over, you'll feel it go over that little speed bump there. And I clip about every 4 inches. Now, if you're getting something like this, that's not going to work. It has to clip so that it goes over the speed bump on the front side, and then it meets the edge of the fabric here. Okay, about every 4 inches. I just hold my clip open enough that I can feel it go over that edge and it lines up here. I buy binder clips in the packs of 50 because I like to do quite a bit of this and then stitch for a while. I don't like to have to sew a little bit, clip a while, sew a little bit, clip. I like to be able to sew a good distance. But for this, we're just going to do this one corner because we have some other things that we want to talk to you about. Okay, so does everybody see how I've started this? I started here and I pinned it in place. I put one clip over here and then I've started down my edge because I'm going to now switch over, and I love these feet that clip on and off. This is called an edge joining foot. Right here. This little guide is in the middle of my presser foot. It's called an edge joining foot. And I'll come back here and do one more so y'all can see the running start that I get. I feel like I'm getting ready to do the curved wall on American Ninja Turtles. American Ninja Turtles. American Ninja Warrior. Sorry, it's late. Okay, do you see how my edge joining foot goes up? It's basically going to be my stitching in the ditch foot. This is going to be I'm trying to look at this through the camera with you, Lauren. It's going to ride right along this line here. Okay, now here's another little trick. Most of this is dark, so I'm going to change my top thread because I don't want gold to show, even if somebody, the quilting police, look at my stitching in the ditch and see that light color. And I love automatic needle threaders. Wow, that was easy. Where's my easy button? I think it fell on the floor.
Judy said, I thought you said you like to have the flat side of the clip on the bottom. Great video.
Well, it's on the right side of the quilt, but it's on the bottom as I'm working on it.
Oh, okay.
Not the back side of the quilt. But when I'm working, I like for the flat side to be against the bottom, meaning I'm working on the top, which is actually the back.
That's not
Whoa,
confusing.
that was confusing. I'm working from the back side now, which is actually the top that I'm looking at. I have to be able to see this part.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Yeah. Just watch the video over and over and over, and you'll figure out what I've done. This is the top to me because I'm working where I can see. So let's not call it the top. Let's call it where I'm looking from. I want the curved part of the clip to be where I can see it so that the flat part is on the edge that's already stitched, the side that's already stitched down.
Okay, that was better.
Is that better? Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so now I'm going to put my edge joining foot, and y'all have to understand it is extremely difficult to sew with a camera between me but I want Lauren to see this because this is what I love about the videos that Lauren and I do. Now I got to be able to see them. Here, let's put my light down here a little bit so they can see too. Is that I want you guys to see up close and personal what we're doing. Now, I don't go fast for this because I want you to see what it's doing. Do you see this little edge joining foot is riding right along? And I'm going to sew, and I don't know if you can get the camera in here, but where you're looking is where my needle's going because I don't want to sew on top of my binding.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so I've sewn as far as I can go, so now I have to pivot.
With your needle down.
Pivot with your needle down. Is everybody there?
Mm-hmm. Hold on.
Is everybody there?
Yes.
Okay. And now I've turned to the corner. What?
Oh, sorry. I was...
What did you do to my machine?
Sorry.
Oh, there we go.
I was
okay.
touching the touch screen with my arm.
Oh, you can't touch my computer screen
Sorry.
while we're stitching. Okay. So we'll see if you messed up my bonding.
I hope I did it. I'm sorry.
It's okay. We'll blame it on Lauren.
Oh, she's always blaming me.
Got to have somebody else to blame it on. Okay, so I'm just riding down the edge, and then I take out my clips as I go. And then when I'm down to my last clip, I leave the needle down. I pick up more of the quilt, going to the back side of the quilt, which is now the side that I can see. I put my red or my colored part of my clip, the curved part of the clip, so that it's even with the edge. And I go about every 4 inches, and you see how those 3 little dots are along the edge that's folded over.
Diane and Jessica said, I've learned so much tonight.
Awesome! This is how you do perfect binding. Now, I'm not going to keep going because it's just going to get redundant.
As I talk to them.
Yeah, well, let me show them though. Because, oh, should I check first? Oh my God! Jenna, this is a Jenna. Jenna, I love you so much. Okay, so I want y'all to see this. This is just incredible. Okay, so we have our perfect 45. How come? Because we left that little bit of an overhang when we folded it back on itself.
Correct.
Okay, You saw me pin my clips. There's no magic about this. This is live Facebook. There's no editing. There's no...
Sadly.
Sadly, she says. There's no editing of this. There's no nothing. But here's what I want you to see, because when you can show the back of your work...
Ooh!
I don't have to go back. Now, there's a little stray thread there. I'll go to trim that off with these huge, gigantic scissors. Watch me cut it. Okay. Do you guys see this? How... This is what everybody lives for, is to step back from their work and go, oh my gosh, I did it. I did it.
It's beautiful.
But here, do you see how evenly spaced this is? And that's because that little edge of the clip was right along the edge of that. Folks, it doesn't get better than that. So you have 4 more corners to do. I think you've got this. Now, let's look at the front. Do you see that because I was stitching in the ditch, do you see any of my thread?
No.
But if I really pull this apart, do you see
Yes.
why I went to the black thread?
Yes.
But see, because I did the stitch in the ditch and that little piece of metal there kind of separates that so that you can stitch along that. And then when you let it relax, you can't see where I've put this stitching. For those of you that in the past have been shown to put your binding on the back and then flip it over to the front, I don't like to see that stitching along the edge of the front. This is how I like my bindings to look. So this is the Melanie method. I hope you've enjoyed this. And now we're going to turn it over to Lauren.
Yes.
And she's going to tell you a few things. I hope you guys have enjoyed it tonight.
Hi, everyone.
I shaved 10 minutes off.
She did shave 10 minutes off, and I thank you all for letting me stop early. I am very tired. But I wanted to tell all of you, the first 5 people to call whoever has this kit. Hold on, I'll tell them. Yeah, I'll tell them the number in a second. This kit, it's the cookies and cream, or no, cookies, milk and cookies, sorry. I'm thinking about cookies and cream. Milk and cookies kit, or the farmhouse.
Yeah, the part that we had offered up.
There's 2 different quilt kits you could have bought with this class. The first 5 people to call and leave a message, I will stipple for quilting for $30. I'll do all of the quilting just for $30. Oh wait, I didn't give you the number. I didn't give you the number to call. It's not the store. So call and leave a message at 423-413-7514. So again, the number's 423-413-7514. Leave a message. If you do call the store, just leave a message on the store phone. It's fine. But I also, and so you'll have to buy that's the backing and the batting. You have to buy that separately. But just the quilting, you everyone keeps calling. Just the quilting, you can get it for $30, and I will do that for you personally.
And then you can put your binding on.
Then you can put your binding on, yes. So speaking of which, I'm doing a Facebook Live class October 22nd, for those who missed the beginning of the video, called Free Motion Concepts. And so it's just going to be me, a piece of paper and a pen, and hopefully you will join. And we're just going to get you over the fear of what's stopping you from free motion. A lot of people say, oh, I can't do that, it's too hard. You can do it, okay? And so we're going to go over stippling and how to do feathers. Okay, so this is just the concept and how to get you over that fear. Oh, she wants to say more. Once you do the concept. So if my mom can do it, you can do it. Okay, so let me show you her stipple. I was very proud of her.
Hey now, I want y'all to, this is my first stipple ever, you guys. So make sure you sign up for this class, because you're going to learn skills that will last you a lifetime, because all your quilting, whether it's placemats or table runners or quilts or whatever it is, and you can see no matter which Look how pretty that binding is. But
Okay,
you're going
so
to learn how to
before
stipple.
everyone-
You're going to stipple this, not me.
Everyone is signing off now, but that number to call, be sure to call 423-413-7514 and leave a message or call the store. We very much appreciate all of you watching. We love you all. Hopefully you've learned stuff. If you have any more questions, do just Facebook message the store, which you'll Facebook message me.
Tell them what we're going to do next Facebook Live.
Oh, we're apparently going to tell you what we're doing next Facebook Live. Oh, okay, yes. So next Facebook Live.
I love these huge stockings. I want you to look at this. We are going to quilt and bind and sew and make these huge Christmas stockings. We'll even show you how to embroider a name in here.
Awesome.
See
And
you guys next
yes,
time.
we'll see you next time. And the video, this video and the first part will be on our Facebook. They'll be up there. Just go to our video section or go to our wall. You can find it. It'll probably just be my face as the preview. But we greatly appreciate everyone watching. Hopefully you've learned stuff. We'll see you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.